am I failing as a parent if my child isn't happy or if they're not getting the best grades in school? Today I'm going to talk about part one is going to be about my child not being happy. So the idea here is, am I failing if my child's not happy? Well, let me tell you that I would be in big trouble if that was true, because apparently my daughter has what's called a resting sad face. So if I'm always triggered by her sad face into a fear or worry or even sadness for her, what I'm doing is I'm feeding into this cycle, right? So I'm being triggered. I go into a bit of a worry or panic mode because what's wrong with my daughter? Is she okay? Why isn't she happy? What do I need to do for her? I'm triggered into sadness or compassion, like, oh no, I really want to help her, but I get stuck in the feeling. What ends up happening is my daughter would end up actually continuing to feel sad because they look to us as sort of like an indicator of, or a gauge as to whether things are okay in the end, right? They look to us for comfort. But if I'm panicking and worrying about my child when they're sad or upset, then it's going to be really hard to comfort them because now I'm in my own headspace. Right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to give you an example of something that's pretty common. So do you remember when our kids were little and they would fall down and scrape their knee? And if we were watching and saw them falling, we would have one of two reactions depending on the parent. The first parent might go, oh no, are you okay? Are you okay? And that child, if you could recall, inevitably looks up and is suddenly absolutely not okay, right? Even if they might have been. I'm not saying that they weren't hurt. I'm not saying that they weren't even bleeding a little bit, but our reaction ends up increasing or escalating their feeling of pain, right? If we get into that state. Now, another parent might look at the same child, same fall, same cut, all of that, and say, ooh, that looks like it might have hurt. Hey, sweetheart, come over here, or let me go to you and let me give you a hug. Let's go get a Band-Aid and make it better, right? Or let's take you to the doctor or whatever that might be. But it's empathy and then doing what we need to do for them so they feel seen and understood, and we also help them move through their pain. So the idea here is, if I am triggered into failing as a parent because my child isn't doing well emotionally, then they, like that little kid, will actually end up feeling worse, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not trying to blame here. That is not the idea. I'm trying to give you back some power in the sense of, I can help my child through this by showing kindness, empathy, and love for their situation. And then through that comforting, through that soothing, I can then help them feel a bit better. And then if there's something to figure out, like let's say they're sad because someone at school wasn't nice to them, then we can work out a plan with them as to how to handle that, right? If it's ongoing or things like that. So I hope that makes sense to you. So the whole key here is that, no, you're not failing as a parent if your child's not happy. Your child, one, cannot be happy all the time. So that's something for us to get used to. Like in my case, my daughter, when she's neutral, has a resting sad face. So if I was always triggered, we would be in trouble. The other part I want you to sort of realize that I am so grateful that in today's world, we are finally starting to embrace emotions, right? That it's okay to feel emotions. And that means anger emotions and emotions of sadness as well, right? And many more. But the idea here is we're finally entering into a world where emotions are allowed. So give yourself a break in that we aren't used to seeing our children have emotions. And what I mean by that, let's go a bit deeper here. From our generation, right? When we were young people, we weren't allowed. I don't know about you, but we weren't really allowed to. Please don't cry. Don't cry. It's okay, right? You can't be angry. You're not, that's rude. That's not okay, right? These are how most of us experienced emotion when we were little. It wasn't allowed, or it was a bad thing, right? So this generation is wonderfully expressing more, but because we're not used to, we've never really navigated these waters, this is all new. So we don't know what to do with it. So we react with, right, oh no, are you okay? And I need to make you better. Or with, oh no, my heart's breaking for them, right? Which is beautiful. And all I'm asking is that we then stop. I put a hand on our own heart, because it is so hard to see our children in any kind of pain, physical or emotional. Take a breath for ourselves and then come back to them, show them empathy, say words of kindness. That must be really, really hard. It must feel really difficult when a friend isn't nice to you. Anything that would validate how they're feeling, and then bring you and them both into a state of, let's figure this out together. Right. So we're going to move ourselves out of our limbic system and our fear brain and our worry brain, and into our frontal lobes and our empathy and our executive functioning brains to make a change for the better for our child. I hope that makes sense. Thanks so much.